All right, guys. Today is the first in a series of different videos I'm going to go ahead and post up about Mesopotamia and the Fertile Crescent to help you guys with your comic notes and help you guys prepare for your test. That'll be sometime either at the end of this week or early next week. So, first off, today we're going to talk a little bit about some of the important parts of the geography of the Fertile Crescent as we know it. And as you guys can see from the images that I've put up here, this is definitely a map of the Fertile Crescent, and probably the two biggest main physical features that we're going to talk about are the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. The Tigris is the river that is on top right here, so the T stands for top, and the Euphrates is the one down here below. Much like any of the other civilizations that we're going to talk about, whether it be Egypt, China, India, life in this area survived and was supported based on these two rivers. We'll talk about the other rivers once we get into Egypt and China, and India. But for these two, we're talking about the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. It's very important because if this was not here, they would not have established any sort of civilizations along this route, and as a direct result of that, that's the reason why these two are such an important area. In fact, it's so important that the area in between these two rivers became known as Mesopotamia, which we're talking about. And the word Mesopotamia means land between the two rivers. So the land between the two rivers is the Tigris and Euphrates. And the reason why it was such an important area because it had such rich farmland in order for people to grow. And that's when we talked about the development of the civilization. You needed farmland in order to grow crops. And then in the long run, that's where they were able to establish villages that eventually developed surpluses and worked their way up into different jobs with the division of labor, and then eventually established into these multiple civilizations. So Mesopotamia, the land between the two rivers, the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, very important for you guys to know for this topic. And the reason why it became such an important area was because of this river flooding that went on during certain times of the year. They would set calendars based on when the rivers would flood because the flooding was important because it deposited silt into the soil that surrounded these particular areas that made it very, very suitable for farming. Silt is one of our vocab words and is basically one of those ones that it basically is used, or is minerals that were deposited into the soil, creating the soil to be very rich, fertile farmland, and the main reason why people established their lives around these rivers. There's also the reason, obviously, because you needed drinking water in order to survive. Everything needs water to survive. It provided fish, which was another source of food, and it was a travel route for people to move up and down for trading, as well as getting from point A to point B on the river. So it's very important for them to know, or for you to know those four things. So the big four things why the rivers are important: because it provided water for irrigation, for farmlands, also provided the silt that went into the soil for farming, also with the water for drinking, fish, and then travel purposes. So all of those things are important as it relates to what we're talking about here with the river flooding and irrigation as it relates to the Tigris and Euphrates River. So big things for you guys to know. Like I said, the four reasons why they settled near the river, what silt is, what irrigation is, and the two names of the rivers. And I'm going to supply you guys with a little quick quiz at the end of this to kind of check and see how you guys are going. I highly suggest you guys do that. If you guys have any questions over this, and like I said, use this stuff to help you guys out with your notes, your comic book notes that you guys are working on. All right, talk to you guys in the next one.